All right, good evening. Welcome to the Bay St. Louis City Council meeting, July 2nd, 2024. We'll start the meeting with a prayer by Reverend Reed, followed by the pledge.
Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now, Father, as we stand today in the city council meeting and in the city council, the seat of this government and the seat of this city, Father, we once again want to be grateful unto you for all the good things that you have done for the citizenry and for our city. We continue to solicit your wisdom and your knowledge and your understanding as we continue to lead this city forward. Father, we realize that we can't do it without your help. So, Father, grant us again that kind of wisdom that we need from heaven. And as we've already prayed, we need your kingdom to come on earth just like it's done in heaven, so that your will will be done. So use us as not only the administration, but as the council to guide this city. In Jesus' name we ask, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty then. Agenda amendments. Anybody need to add anything? Amend the agenda for anything? Things good? Announcements? Caitlin, you got some announcements? Okay, it's on there. It says announcements. I got any announcements? Okay. Yes, Mr. Bob Barber, Orion Planning, 2045 Comprehensive Plan Review.
Council, Mayor, good evening to you. It's good to be back before you. Here to bring the recommendation or forward the recommendation to you from the Planning Commission, the Bay St. Louis Planning Commission with Planning and Zoning Commission with regard to Bay St. Louis 2045 update of your comprehensive plan. I don't want to belabor or go too long on the topic. My plan was to take just a few minutes and describe once again what it is that a comprehensive plan is and does and the function it performs in the community. Number two, the process we went about to get to where we are right now, here before you tonight. And then number three, just remind you of the contents of the comprehensive plan. You've had it in your hands. The Planning Commission has had it in its hands and brings a positive recommendation. Prior to that, it was in the Advisory Committee's hands. Several members are here that served on that group. So a comprehensive plan is this. It is a document that sets forth a long-range vision for the community. It is defined in state law. 17-1-1 is a state statute that defines what a plan is. Why do we have a plan? Why would any community have a plan, comprehensive plan, that covers land use, transportation, housing component, and contain long-range goals, along with other elements that you may choose to address, such as economic development? Why would you have that? You have it because to legally engage in land use controls, such as zoning, and other subdivision regulations and so forth, the comprehensive plan sets the basis for that. It sets a long-range vision of how the community is to develop, but it's not just about those kinds of rules. It's also about creating a vision that interests investors, that interests citizens, for the way investments are made and the way certain community development projects can proceed. It sets that vision. So that's the background. That's the role of the plan. The last time you engaged in this exercise was post-Katrina. It's been 15 years, more or less, or more than that, or less than that. It's been quite some time. Lots has changed. Lots has changed. Bay St. Louis is even from the time we've been really privileged and blessed to work on the coast in a number of communities now. And in the time we've been doing that, I mean, with the changes we've observed are really quite dramatic. Been 15 years, so you commissioned us to facilitate a process, and I use and choose the word facilitate very purposefully because we want to, we can provide certain expertise and certain guidance, but we want to tease out the community's vision of itself. So we facilitated through the process, public meetings, focus groups, various levels of input to arrive at just those things. What is Bay St. Louis' vision of itself over the next 20 years? How will that vision impact the way your zoning code is written and how you will implement it? How will it drive potential future investment, greenway, sidewalks, recruiting new businesses out in the corridor, the downtown development, and so forth? That is what Bay St. Louis 2045 provides. One other comment, and the older I've gotten, the less hesitant I make the statement. No plan is perfect. They're made with human hands. There are parts that will be very, very productive for you. There are parts that may prove infeasible. The document is to be used over time and adjusted as needed. In that sense, it's a dynamic document. So if you'll give me just 5 minutes or so, I want to just remind you of the content of what we have, and then I'll conclude by reviewing again next steps, and then if you're so inclined, it's before you for adoption.
Caitlin, why don't you try to grab the mic that's behind that monitor? That way it goes through the computers.
Okay, all right. Whoops. So we've got 130 or 40 pages here, and so we're going to just skim over the top. You've had it for review, and again, my purpose is to remind you of the content. The plan is set out in methodically in a series of 5 or 6 sections. We have an introductory piece that explains all about what a comprehensive plan is, the statutory authority, why a community does it, everything I just mentioned. And then we go through a process of discovery. That process of discovery is objective analysis of the community, from the way the community's land is used, its environmental conditions, the local economy, economic development, how the mobility system is composed and constructed and put together, and an element of community facilities. All that is within discovery, and the purpose of that is to establish a baseline from which to plan. I'll skim through those pages momentarily. The next part, so that we could call that the quantitative aspect of the planning process. The next aspect of it is a community engagement component, and where we want to take these facts and expose them in the community and talk about them and discuss them, which we did. Many of you will have participated in the public meetings that we had at the community center. There was a series of focus groups. We had online engagement. We had an advisory group that met on multiple occasions, either in person or virtually, and then, of course, the Planning Commission. All of that is to generate vision and interact with the facts of the community. The next component is sets out the future of the community and the future development forum, future projects, focal points, key community development components of a future Bay St. Louis, and then the plan concludes with an implementation piece in the very back. What are the strategies that we would use to achieve this vision, and who's responsible for them? how we're gonna do them, what priorities. Some things have a high priority, some things are easier than others, longer term and so forth. So as I scan those sections, you'll see again mentioning the introduction. Bay St. Louis is incredibly picturesque. There's no shortage of really, really fun things to take a picture of and illustrate in the document. So we made it very graphic. We described the process you see here. The discovery is steps 1 through 5, discovery, direction, design, implementation, and then the follow-up monitoring and so forth. We also take directions from plans that have already created. So we've looked at the prior comprehensive plan, the components that the Coastal Business Council put out, various national heritage area, all kinds of, we want to synthesize all of that. So we reviewed that in the process as well. As we get into discovery, we start that off with a historic sketch of the community, which is really interesting history, coastal history in Bay St. Louis, and then we follow it with the environmental analysis. You'll see it better on a map in a moment, the tremendous amount of environmentally impacted land in Bay St. Louis, and I don't have a, so you'll see right over here what I would started calling the high ground. It's really a very, very small part of the city. Really about a quarter of the city is unencumbered by some environmental asset or environmental constraint. So we look at that, we analyze it, take a look at the various projections for sea level rise in the future, if that may have some type of impact depending on how it plays out. All that is compared to the way the community is developed, the development patterns, with the yellow being residential, the red you'll see is your commercial corridor, the downtown on the bay there, and in the hatched area is the resort, the casino up there. All of that is mapped, measured, and understood so that we can get an idea of what land may develop, what's potentially developable in the future, and so forth. And this map will indicate vacant and developable lands. Again, sort of the high ground there is a small portion of Bay St. Louis. In terms of demographics and economics, we have a section there. Of course, that's ever changing, but we certainly want to examine it. I will show the growth scenarios. I've blown them up on the screen. We did a variety of scenarios from sort of flat growth to the highest component, likely growth for over the next 30 years. You could see another 3,000, 4,000 people in the city very easily, depending on what trends occur. So we take that forecast and then we can begin to plan out and think of where those people are going to be. Where are they going to live? What type of housing market do we want in the community? So all that is there in the economic and demographic overview. Housing, we know, we hear this in each community we work in, but Bay St. Louis, it's a little more pronounced. The rise in housing values is very, very noticeable. That's called out in the study. Also, the rise in short-term rentals, which we look at, you'll see in here, it's really sort of exponentially increased over the last several years, and the impact of that on the housing market. If you're a first-time person or trying to get established in the community, those prices make it a real challenge. We look at retail opportunities in the community, and there are a number of retail opportunities. I won't go into the detail. I will say that grocery is the highest potential retail opportunity. It scored the highest in terms of dollars leaking out of Bay St. Louis and going elsewhere.
Can you explain that? What do you mean leaking out?
Leaking out.
Going across city line.
So,
Walmart.
yes, exactly. Going, the dollars, some of them are being spent outside the community, and they're available to the community if there was an opportunity to spend them here. So the grocery is the highest.
I got you, I
level,
see.
so people the others are detailed in the plan. We look at mobility, noting various aspects of the mobility in the community, not just for vehicles, but also cars and golf carts. Unique alternative transportation here, and how the community is or is not connected up, and how the mobility network interacts with the parks and the park system, and the bay and the waterfront. All of that is assessed in the discovery section. We conclude and we summarize the discovery. I said 5 minutes, didn't you? You're not going to hold me to that. 5 more. May I have 5 more? We conclude that, and then we move into the vision section. This is one of my favorite all-time pictures, really. This was a great engagement we had with the community. It was about a year ago that we did it, and then we followed up. The inputs were of very, very high quality, and we got good inputs. I haven't looked at the website interaction traffic lately, but somewhere around a quarter of the community has had some kind of interaction. Now, we don't know if those are duplicate numbers. Somebody hit the website twice. That's not just website, though. That's community meetings, focus groups, interaction, all the totality of it, about just under a quarter of the community. This is the outcome of it, and these themes and values underlie the planning process. They emerged out of all this data and discussion. Preserving the downtown depot, waterfront, and the historic neighborhoods. That theme of preservation is the best aspects of Bay St. Louis. Expanding mixed-use development beyond just the downtown. You have some great examples there, but out into some of the other areas.
Bob, can you expand upon that? Can you expand upon that mixed use outside of downtown?
Yes, and I'll have an example of it if you'll
Okay.
if you'll remind me of it in just a moment. I'll show you an example of how that is incorporated. Improving suburban commercial areas, in particular Highway 90 corridor. Balancing the change from, we called it hometown to tourist destination. What is that balance? How do you manage it, navigate it? Enhancing your standards and codes. They needed to be updated and rewritten in many places. And then just a couple more. Improving mobility and connectivity. You'll see that show up in a minute. Protecting the natural environment, environmental integrity, and then increasing parks and recreation opportunities and facilities. Those are the main values that came out of it, and they underlie what you see now. Now, the way we do it, and I'm going to show you the pattern of how it's done. I'm going to answer Mr. Lewis's question specifically and any other questions. We begin to look at the future of the community from a place-type perspective. What kinds of places should be located where? And that's based on existing character and desired future character. And when you look at the map, you'll see up at the top there, this is Bay St. Louis's place-type palette. We got natural areas, rural lands, park areas, the riverfront, bayfront. They're two different kinds of places. Suburban neighborhoods, the old town neighborhoods, mixed residential, downtown neighborhood centers, and highway corridors. All those are composite, presented in a composite manner on this map, and they should correspond to the way you zone and control the property. But also, I want to call your attention to some of the focus areas, because it's one thing to plan from this high level. It's another thing to focus down on particular sites, and that's where I'll answer the mixed-use question. There are 5 focus areas here, and you will see them in this little table right here. We did a a greenway, we did a shopping center retrofit, we did mobility crossings of the Highway 90 corridor, particularly for the golf cart crossings and pedestrians. A new neighborhood design, and in the downtown and the depot area focus. The way that is presented is the place type has certain characteristics, and they're presented on this page. Get rid of that. Those characteristics, this has to do with the natural lands in Bay St. Louis, and they're mapped. But then also where there is an associated focus area, and in this case it is the greenway, where there's a real desire to expand upon greenways where possible, create new ones. We picked out an example here of this bayou area here, and we called it the Bayou Greenway, a concept plan that you can begin to think about connecting, and when you look at the overall map, it connects the athletic area all the way over to downtown, and you'll see a crossing here across Highway 90, and that'll be treated in more detail later in the plan. That's a concept, potential project for the future, and gives you an example of a focus area. So all of the place types are presented. This is a focus area for the riverfront. The riverfront place type, it's trying to demonstrate a clustered development, somewhat of a mixed-use development that preserves a lot of the majority of the site in open space. So the pattern is presented here. And then as we scan on down, we've got Old Town neighborhoods and preserving those. And then you will see potential mixed-use corners you will see located at certain strategic corners. The potential for mixed-use development of this kind of form that you see here, up to the street, neighborhood appropriate kind of scaled convenience is what that means. We will move on. There is the highway corridor, you know, is Highway 90. We utilize the Frugal Shopping Center for potential retrofits, retrofitting parking lots that are devoid of any landscaping whatsoever, that create drainage issues, provide no shade when you need lots of shade. So we provide that as an example, and you'll see before and after examples of how to do that as a concept. That, again, that has to be written into your rules to be able to do that. Finally, I'll close out before I get to the implementation piece with the Old Town Core. We took a look at that. We see lots of infill construction now going on. We've attempted here to measure what the potential of the infill is in Old Town. There will be continued demand, strong demand. You've got vacant lands there. Parking is an ongoing issue, and we address certain ways to consider Old Town. Now, this is not a downtown master plan, but we do sort of lay the basis for considering Old Town, along with connecting Old Town to the Depot District. And you'll see in this illustration on page 99, I believe that number is, the concept of bringing the greenway alongside the track, which can be done with not a great amount of difficulty, and connecting on down to the Depot District, so that we get a continuous greenway throughout the community. I'm going to skip through the mobility because I've completely blown my time frame. I was way too ambitious. But before and after on some of the key intersections, to retrofit these intersections to accommodate golf carts, pedestrians, safety issues. It's included in the mobility section. And then we move into the concluding point of implementation. So implementation, I'll conclude with this. Implementation happens three ways in a planning process. You do it by policy. subdivision regulations, zoning control, historic preservation, design standards, whatever development policy. You do it by projects. How are you gonna invest money? Are you gonna put money in, when you redo a street, it's gonna be a complete street with a sidewalk, a street, that's on the public side. But also, guiding, promoting, motivating reinvestment in perhaps retrofitting a shopping center on the private sector side, which may include certain economic incentives, to accomplish that, tax increment financing or other things. So policies, projects, and then the way the process is managed. Management is your own internal administration. So, try to make it as quickly as possible. I want you to see the totality of what you have here. The implementation is on a sheet as a management tool to be used by the city to kind of follow up on these projects and policies and whatever needs to occur to implement the plan. Planning Commission has recommended, well, let me go through the process. We developed the work, we vetted it with an advisory group, really good engaged group, and then the advisory group sent it to the Planning Commission, recommended by the Planning Commission on May the 8th after their review, and it's now before you, Mr. President, tonight for y'all's consideration.
Thank you.
Sorry about the time. Questions, comments?
Questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I want to better understand how we can go from conceptualizing this to actually, and I know there's 65 action items in the implementation phase, is that correct?
Tons, there's 65, yes.
So how do we get to that, to where this doesn't just sit on a
Short,
shelf?
Medium and long-term goals of sleep, but they're breaking it.
But I want to understand the council's plan too, and how, we're taking this and applying. I know some of this is ongoing, some of we're in the process of, but what I don't want to happen is we've invested a lot of taxpayer dollars in it and they just sit on the shelf somewhere.
Right.
So how do we go to looking and evaluating whether that's workshops and look at some of this? And what can we actually feasibly do? What some of this is going to be, kind of lofty. I mean, I'm still kind of looking at trying to figure out how, the North Beach Greenway, I kind of scratched my head on that one and how that would be feasible. But I think we need to kind of better understand too, and how we take it to the implementation phase to actually have action and
Right.
incorporating this. I mean,
In the past, the only one I can think of offhand is Diamond Head. And when I applied for permits and stuff, and you'd meet at their meetings and they would explain that this is or isn't part of their comprehensive plan, and suggested that things be denied or approved based on following their comprehensive plan. If that's what we're gonna do, then this has to be included with the municipal code.
well,
So
and that's
that-
the thing, we'd have to update, and as Bob mentioned, we have to update a lot of our ordinances that coincide with some of this. I do think some of this we do have in place. I mean, you mentioned the tax abatement. Well, that goes through, we've had establishments that have gone through that process, that goes through the MDA. So how do we differentiate what you recommended from what's already in place now?
Right, and we can drill down a little closer on the economic development component of it, but let me mention you mentioned the Greenway, so let's bring one of the intersections to mind. MDOT will be investing money in Highway 90, which we would like you to call the Boulevard, if you'll consider it. And when they appropriate those funds, you can utilize the plan to ensure that they create pedestrian safe crossings. So that's one implementation component of that is occurring in Diamond Head now with some of that interstate work where they're implementing the roundabouts and some other pedestrian improvements, including a greenway, by the way, I think, along the wall there that they're building along the highway. So this can guide not just your own investments, but whoever you're working with that's investing in the community, public or private. Number two.
And so, Bob, and I'm sorry to touch upon that. So I'm assuming throughout this process, that's been discussed, and because that's kind of the first I'm hearing of that with MDOT, with doing that. So, I mean, that's all contained in here to where we can get a plan in place and understand what mechanisms and what's coming available?
Yes, your staff, the staff that you have can use and the council itself, of course, can use the plan as a tool to leverage those investments, and I mean leverage them in a good way. MDOT, just to use that example, is very, very responsive to local planning. So where you have expressed a vision, they're generally gonna try to honor it. And so that's the Highway 90 component, and perhaps might work over into some of the Greenway components. The other thing, Mr. Lewis, all of those strategies, you're gonna knock, I'm gonna say 40 or 50% of them out when the zoning code is rewritten. Because a lot of that has to do with, establishing the zoning appropriate for the mixed-use development of the preservation of the larger lots and all of that, ensuring that zoning policy is responsive to this plan's vision. So when we go through that process, it'll take care of a lot of it. Some of it is long-term, as you rightly have noticed, and some of it will, as I already mentioned, I hope not much, but some of it will prove over time perhaps less feasible than we thought on the front end. So that'll have to be filtered out.
Yeah, so the 2009 comprehensive plan was broken out in three parts: short-term, midterm, and long-term goals, right?
Yes.
So before we start this, I went back through and looked at all those, and believe it or not, through normal day activities, we accomplished almost 80% of those goals over time.
Yeah.
Just from our normal, more fire trucks, more fire police, expand building departments, renovate old city hall, establish walking trails, establish new wells. Just things that were put on there have become normal, but you're right, we have a plan, we have a model. So how do we put that model in place, that plan in place? Short term, we're talking about connectivity at the depot already, by the sidewalk, right? So that is something that's on here as recommendation. So that could be a medium-term goal to get funding and move forward to, redoing, whole complete shopping centers and stuff. It's another long-term, how do you deal with that? But you're right, we got this plan in front of us. How do we look at the pieces that we can implement now? And as we go forward, put timelines, 5, 10, whatever years to implement. So there's always a focus to keep going in front of you.
Yes, sir. And we'll also call out in the implementation section in the plan, it's got to be revisited, and you don't want it you do not want it on a shelf. You want, somebody needs to annually, sort of update and understand progress that's being made, and even report to council, report to planning commission, council, here's our plan, here's what we accomplished, here's what's infeasible, here's what we plan to do in the fall next year, as the council sets priorities.
I would also comment, I think it can be used monthly as you guys meet and have applications for variances or applications for new development. Is that in keeping, that decision you have to vote on, is that in keeping with that comprehensive plan or not?
Yes.
And so it gives that vision, like Highway 90, after this came out, at my last board meeting for GRPC, I already had a conversation with Kenneth saying, is there a way to get a planning grant to kind of look at all 5 or 7, I think all the way from the post office to 90, I think it might be 6 or 7 major intersections. I said, could we do a planning grant where we can design all that and have it shovel ready and then be able to plug them off one at a time?
Right.
So, that's where stuff will just come, I think, over time. It's not gonna be some of those projects, I mean, y'all have seen how long projects take when you're getting funding and everything else. But otherwise, I mean, monthly, when y'all are making decisions, I think that's when that plan needs to be, is this in keeping with that plan? That would be a quick question, yes or no?
Right. Yep, good point.
Yeah. And maybe just more communication, because MDOT just came through a couple of years ago and did all the intersections, and we had no input at all except to move our utilities out their way. Was the only input we had.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
there
true.
was
Yep.
I think you'll see it
They just
different
spent
with
a bunch of
NDOT
money.
now, with who's in there
Mhm.
now, and the communication we've had with them so far.
Okay,
I think,
good.
I think it'll be a lot better working with them.
And we came up to Lincoln, the depot in Old Town, but CSX wouldn't give us right of way or access to go alongside the train
But we
tracks
do
on
have
the
enough
property.
room
Yeah,
So,
through our city
when it
park
was-
area
right.
okay.
for, maybe,
Uh-huh.
maybe not golf cart, but at
Mhm.
least pedestrian walking through that area where we can, stay on the back side of everything, maybe move a few things here and there, but,
Mhm.
for the most part, if we can't get that right away to do that sidewalk. One of the first phases that we've been talking about is take from depot to to take from the depot to Second Street, that's a little short run right there to a sidewalk. At least it'll get you to Second Street from the depot all on sidewalks now. Then to the beach later on would be the ideal thing, you know, so.
Yeah, cool.
In the parking garage and signage, you go to Biloxi, to the Shuckers game, they got signs on all the light
Yeah.
poles guiding and stuff.
Ronnie and them's working on
That's
that
always
now.
nice.
Good. I know we've been talking about that for a couple of years. If we can get
Yeah.
something like that.
All right, Bob, thank you. Any more questions?
Yeah, just a quick comment. I know there's a couple members here for the advisory committee. Do y'all have any input or any? I'm just curious. First of all, thank y'all for serving on the advisory committee. But is there any input, or we'd love to hear from you?
Anita Warner, I thought it was a really good process, the way they had it broken down into different groups looking at different things, and people came up with really good ideas. Then once they had it drafted, they asked us to look at it again and to give input, and then at the planning and zoning meeting, they asked, you know, what did you folks think about it? Overall, I thought it was an excellent plan, and it gives you some goals to aspire to and areas to keep looking forward, because citizens really were engaged, and they said, this is what we want, and we know we have issues that need to be corrected. So I thought it was a really good process. I don't know what Tad had.
Yeah,
No,
thanks, Missy.
basically,
Yes, sir.
Of course.
I enjoyed the process. I wish there would've been a little bit more of one-on-one, round table, chalkboard type, but that didn't happen. But I think the data that was collected shows where the people that participated want Space St. Louis to be. And some of the data shows where we're really over the short-term rentals, too many, and some other things. And I like what Bob had talked about with the walkway through. Now there's people that own that property, but it'd be a nice walkway through if that can be done,
Magnolia Bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah, we talked
you know.
about
But
that.
anyway,
Yeah.
but I thought the process overall was a good thing.
we put in a couple times, trying
Yep.
to get funding, still working on that.
And it may not be that alignment, there may be an alternative alignment, but the concept and the idea is the key.
Right.
Key there, although that would make it fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Any more discussions, questions? All right, I need a motion to approve resolution, mayor and city council adopting Bay St. Louis 2045 comprehensive plan.
Motion.
Motion, Salvo,
Second.
second, Mr. Hoffman. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Ah,
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank
Bob.
you.
Miss Kathleen Monte. You're next on the agenda.
Can I pass out something to y'all, just so that nothing earth shaking?
$100 bills, we don't mind.
Thank you.
You got the right paper, huh?
Yeah.
That's the lectures.
Good evening, I'm Kathleen Monty, 105 Sycamore Street, right across from the Washington Street pier area, comfort station, parking lot, pavilion. And the reason why I'm here, Teresa Lacey and I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday to request that the county make changes to its rental agreement. You have copies before you. In order to help control and curtail some of the out-of-control activities that have been happening down there. And, you know, all of this goes back to stuff that I can document back to 2016, but I do not want to bring up any old history tonight. I want to focus on the last 10 days, and that was our focus when we went to talk to the Board of Supervisors, because we had not one but 3 incidents over the last 10 days. And we strongly feel like there needs to be a cooperative effort between our county and the city governments regarding law enforcement down in that area. I have shared videos of the events of June 22nd and 29th with the mayor, the Bay St. Louis Chief of Police, Kyle Lewis, our Ward 4 councilman, and Scotty Adam, our Board of Supervisors president for the county. On both of these nights, the pavilion was legally rented through the county. However, it's irrelevant to us as citizens whether it is legally rented or not, because the outcome to us is the same. You know, it is out of control, cars, people, noise, drugs sometimes, that goes on for hours, and it's just gotten insanely loud and dangerous. And frankly, I think the residents all up there agree with us that it's a threat to public safety. If you will look at your rental agreement from the county, you'll see that if it's legally rented, they require that the event must close down at 10 p.m. There is a curfew. The terms of their lease require that they hire a Hancock County deputy if alcohol is consumed at the event. And that was certainly the case on both of these nights. Whether the organizers brought alcohol down there or not, there was plenty of it. There was no Hancock County unit visible to us on either night. I believe that in the public safety interest, that any city official could have ordered the shutdown of those activities. I hope I'm right about that. Don't know whose decision that would be, but I think that both nights it should have been shut down before 10 o'clock, regardless of the curfew stated on that rental agreement. The officials from both of our governments need to work together to find a positive solution to address these growing problems at Washington Street before someone gets hurt or killed. And we are tired of the finger pointing. We are wanting the two governments to please work together. Let's move forward and find some positive solutions that work. Prior to Monday's meeting, I had emailed Scotty Adams some of my recommendations after I looked at the rental agreement again closely this year, because I felt that there were things lacking in it that would be helpful to our law enforcement if they were included. And Scotty and Gary Yarborough stated yesterday at the supervisors meeting that they will review the current rental agreement and recommend changes to the document.
And Ms. Kathleen, and not to interject, I did want to just mention this because this is item B, where the lessee, like you mentioned, they're required to have, if there's alcohol, a compensated uniform Hancock County Sheriff's Department. I did, and it's a recent conversation I had with the county and one of the commanders that oversees. So, and I haven't seen it, but we do need to maybe work with the county and see it. So, to my understanding, you go through a checklist, and if you check that there will be alcohol, then it goes into a safety. I think there's maybe a safety agreement that you got to abide by.
Which agency are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
The county?
No, this is supposed to be in place, from my understanding, from who manages those officers or the deputies. If
for the county.
For the county, but he indicated there's a safety checklist or agreement that if you do, go through these boxes, there's going to be alcohol, and it requires you to have 2 compensated county deputies there. I think minimum of 4 hours. But I just don't see it in the packet. I just
it's not in that rental agreement.
Right, and that's just where
and
maybe
that's
we can get further
part of the
clarification.
problem.
But I wonder if that's just that the organizers saying, yes, we're gonna have alcohol, we're gonna serve alcohol, but if you say, oh, BYOB, then they say, oh, we're not serving alcohol.
I think it's if it's
it says
Wait, it's
consumed.
consumed,
but people
regardless
bring
if
it.
they bring it in or if it's
It
just
says consumed.
So we might just want to follow up with the county and see if that's in place, because they're required to have
Have we
at
been
least
in
2.
contact with them?
Yeah, turn your mic on, Mike.
I'm sorry, Gary. One of the things, I was down there all night. I went home at 11:30. I was in your side yard most
I
of the
thought
night
I saw you down
with
there.
my blue lights on. I got on my golf cart. So, but anyway, we've been in contact with them. One of the things is, if they don't rent it and just show up there, it's a public facility. So they got the right to show up, they got the right to drink there, unless we put something where there's no alcohol allowed there. in our parks, beside, you know, in our regular neighborhood parks, we don't allow alcohol. That includes Dunbar, you know, everything. Depot does, you know, we allow it back there. We try to shut everything down and that's in at 10 o'clock. I like that, you know, and, you know, we had officers there from the get-go, from the time they were setting up there, and I'm not sure if, you know, I saw sheriffs pass by a couple times, you know, but they wasn't stationed out there.
I don't believe they were hired. If they were,
No,
I'd sure like to know.
I would almost guarantee they wasn't hired.
Me too.
But they were in, you know, contact with Toby and them and our police department working together. And one of the scenarios, and look, as much as it was this year, my opinion is it was 1,000 times better than last year. You know, last year was just unbelievable. You could not, they were all over everybody's yards parking. You know, Stanislaus was full. You couldn't even get down Washington, down the rock pile itself in emergency and all. You know, we'd put no parking signs out all along the beach down there, you know, inside the area. You know, we put trailer parking only on the north side and everything, so it kept a lot of congestion out. But still, you still have a lot of people showing up there, and I like the idea, you know, when you have something, a big event, where you have to, you know, have 2 officers, and in this situation, as big as it is, you know, do you have to have 4 officers?
Well,
I don't know.
that's the whole problem is
No.
they had no idea how big it is because
No,
their
you don't.
form
They-
does not ask
If
how
I
many
had-
people
I
are
haven't
attending.
looked, but, you know, at their permit, but I would probably say, they probably said 50 people, if that, you know, 100
I
people.
don't think it even.
Oh,
has-
no,
I don't
no.
think, I don't know if it, does
No,
it
it's
even
more
have
than that.
information?
Oh, I'm saying, but their permit probably says, we're gonna have 50 people. They probably don't say they're
Doesn't
gonna have
ask.
500.
It does not ask
It
at
doesn't
all.
ask for how, what you're anticipating.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, I pointed out to them and asked them to please change. Please put in there that your rental agreement prohibits amplified music or noise. Please put in there how many people you expect to attend. And I would like to see, personally, that the curfew get changed to 30 minutes before dusk, year-round. Now, Scotty Adam at the meeting did say that his personal preference would be to close it at 7 o'clock when they come and lock up the comfort station. Either one of those, I would be rejoicing.
Well, and I'm trying to just think logistics. So if they close the conversation at 7, and that, I think the other night, I went till around 11. Where are those people going?
Well, there happens to be a public, a
They got a
porta-john
portal
for,
let out.
that some reason still is there 3 years after the rebuilding of the pier. I don't know why it's there either. That's a very good question.
Probably pretty full now.
I'm sorry, Miss.
Probably pretty full by now.
I bet. Well, no, they come and service it
Okay.
every week, but I have no idea why it remains there.
You know, I went out
No
there
idea.
Saturday and watched a while and talked to Lieutenant Push Phillips out there, and it was a substantial crowd.
Well, I
And,
will tell you that you're right. Last year on June 29th of 2023, it was really horrible. And then this past Saturday night, and then, like I said, the 22nd, I found out today the same person who rented it in 2023 in June was the person who rented it June 29th of this year. Same person.
Birthday.
Same person. The county, in case you're not aware of it, the county had passed an ordinance in 2019. You have a copy of it there in front of you. And it's called something like restricting use at the Hancock County property at Washington Street Beach. It states that the comfort area shall be open to the public from 1/2 hour before official sunrise to 10 p.m. and that all persons shall vacate the comfort area. However, no one seems to be aware of this ordinance since there are no signs, which was another issue that we asked the Board of Supervisors to please address. And Gary and Scotty did say that signage needs to be posted in those areas that are affected by the ordinance. I questioned, from reading that document, what does the term comfort area include? Because when I read it, it includes everything down to the fishing pier surrounding the parking lot and beaches because of the inclusive language that you'll see in paragraph 1. But then you go down a little, and at the very first paragraph at the top, it says, which contains without limitation Hancock County Comfort Station parking lot, sand beach, and pavilion comfort area as follows. So there's no mention of the pier. There's, no, it says parking lot. Don't know if you mean the one by the comfort station or you mean both of them. I don't know. I think things like this need to be cleared up so that our law enforcement officers know. And I'm not faulting anybody. I'm just saying we need to work together so we are all on the same page. I took it upon myself to open my mouth and say this at the meeting because I think it would be helpful. And if you don't, fine, shoot it down. But I said that I thought it would be helpful for the city, for the county to also put on their form that if the event has over 25 people, they need to come to the city and fill out a special events permit. If they are required to do that, I think that gives your law enforcement officers a heads up who's in charge of that event and how many people they're expecting and what type of event it is. I had also recommended to Scotty that they hire not the one required in the current lease agreement, but hire two if alcohol is consumed at that event. Because if one officer is handling something, you really do need two. And if you have any doubt of that, come sit on my porch and see some of the activity that goes on down there. I would think if the city has that, is in agreement that would be helpful, that you can also add your own your own requirements or your own stuff to your special events form yourself about the alcohol, about the noise, or whatever. Now, I will tell you that at the meeting yesterday, Gary was explaining to Teresa because she had asked a question. Teresa Lacey is here with me tonight. And I'll try to summarize but not quote what Gary's explanation was to us regarding the enforcement of the area. I'm not trying to quote him. I'm just telling you what my takeaway was after hearing it and then playing it again on the video yesterday. Although the county owns the property, it is within city boundaries. Gary referred to Mississippi Statute 19-3-40, which says the county cannot enforce city ordinances like the noise ordinance. He said it states the county does not have the authority. He also said that that if there is a rental agreement for the pavilion, then the county can impose its regulations. I didn't know if he meant the regulations that are on that rental agreement or what. I wasn't quite sure. I was foggy about that. But if there was no rental agreement, then the county can do nothing because the city has to enforce its own ordinances. That was my takeaway from the discussion yesterday. So I took that to mean we're renting the property, but you're going to have to deal with it. But I think that if we can coordinate it and make some requirements between the two government agencies, we can improve things a lot and possibly save somebody injury or death. So the two big problems I see are a lack of relevant information on the county's rental form and a lack of communication between the county and city government regarding the rentals there. And we would like to find ways to work out preemptive solutions that will enable our law enforcement officers to do their job in maintaining the public safety and enforce disturbance of the peace issues. And that's why I would like to see that requirement on the county's rental agreement, that the renter has to apply to the city of Bay St. Louis for a special events permit if the event's over 25 people. If that is done, you're not blindsided. If you don't want that, then what are some suggestions? Because I think they're open right now to suggestions, and I'll be happy to facilitate. I'll be happy, whatever it takes to let's please work on this. As of yesterday, when I went in, they told me that the Crab Fest has the morning run in the early morning hours of July 4th, but other than that, there are no rentals
July,
of the pavilion.
July 6th.
July, what I
July
say?
6th, Saturday, yeah.
Oh, 6, sorry, 6. But there are no rentals from July 4th through the 7th. Hallelujah, thank you. I would like to recognize and thank our city officials, the chief of police, and our Bay St. Louis officers for their professional handling of the potentially dangerous situations on the night of June 22nd and 29th. We really do appreciate your efforts. But we ask that you continue to have a presence in our area by patrolling the pavilion area and pier, not just on weekends, but on weeknights too. Because this is not a one-time off thing that happens. We have pop-up events. One of you has already, I think, mentioned pop-up events, things that are totally unplanned, but at least if it's not on the books, your officers will know how to handle it. But we had a situation back on, I think, it was Thursday night, June 20th, and there was a man down there just shows up, hours and hours and hours of thumping, mind-numbing, whatever it was. It was not music. I don't know what it was. But, you know, is that loitering? Is that?
Well, I mean, I think that falls under, and to go back to the pop-ups or those situations, and I know we just discussed if they go through the process and go through the rental agreement, that's one thing we have, you know, there's some requirements there, but how do we handle, because I just heard, well, we can't stop people, it's a public area, we can't stop anyone from, but what happens if that's what happened Saturday night at a smaller scale? So noise or disturbance
That
of the,
might be the same night they was on the end, was this what's scraping?
disturbance of the peace.
No.
That was another night?
So disturbance of the peace, though, that would be, and so,
Our officers got the right to do whatever they need to do on that property. You stated it's in our jurisdiction, it is our jurisdiction, and, you know, they can enforce the laws.
but they've got to actually, if it is, say, a noise issue, they've got to experience that. If there's a call in and a complaint about disturbance
They
of the
should
peace,
follow up on, go see what it is, and
but if they see him come and turn it down, then they got to call in again, is that correct, where the officer actually has to observe that occurring? If the complaint is that it's noise or thumping, they
I
have
would
to,
think so, but if they keep doing that and getting that call, then that's enough to do it,
okay, so if it's a repetitive,
yes.
then they have the ability and jurisdiction to say, listen,
Yep.
this is the second time we called out here, pack it up, okay. So they don't actually have to observe it after the first occurrence.
I wouldn't think. If they keep getting called, you know, it's one of them things, know you coming and turn it down. We went into that situation years ago on the corner somewhere else over there. You know, and they had a scan and could hear the calls and everything, and by the time the officers got there, it'd be turned down to a witness.
Sometimes they hide out the cars. They pull them up close to up under the comfort station where it can't be seen from the roadway because it's much higher. And so, you know, do I call in? I can't even identify where it comes from, you know, unless I get my
Loud
car and
music,
start
yeah.
driving around.
If you hear that loud music going, yes, do not hesitate to call.
So, but
You call me, I'll call it in.
I remember you said that.
So could we, so in order to, you know, so we don't have a curfew, right? So if we had the county enact
It's 10 p.m.
rules, well, if the county would adopt rules, the pavilion opens at dusk to dawn, right, dawn to dusk. That way you could get people out of there because it's the county, like our parks, right? We have certain hours of operation from 8 to 8 or something.
But you got a fire pit there people rent as well.
Yeah, they do.
You know, to run people off the beach.
Well, if it was,
Talking about,
right, I understand, but if you had written rules, then you have something to go off. If today you can't, if they're having a party under pavilion, legally till 10 o'clock, they can be there. Right, so, but the county says, okay, it's open from 8 to 8.
Right now, it's
the
10 o'clock.
pavilion itself, not the park.
No,
or the beach.
the pavilion itself is open from 8 to 8, right? And if somebody's under there having a kid's birthday party, that's fine. If somebody's under there having a crazy ass party, then it's 8 o'clock. The rule says this closed down at 8 o'clock. At least it gives you an avenue.
Might be able to do that for the pavilion.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It gives you an avenue to talk to the people that are not doing the right things.
Then they walk out 20 feet to the sand, then what you do?
Yeah.
That's the
I
thing.
mean,
Well,
you know.
that's why, honestly, one of my questions was, does the city need to pass an ordinance to dovetail with the county's ordinance so that our officers can enforce the no loitering, the, area closures.
Well, there's a whole-
Loitering,
Yeah, there's no,
you know, it's a park area. So,
But they have that, the areas had to be vacated.
yes, that's different. But again,
Right.
we don't need an ordinance for our city officers to enforce an ordinance. It's their right, it's their law to enforce it. It's in our city. We have full the county's always there to back up and support and everything, you know, whenever asked. And, you know, this weekend, I don't know what happened as far as, you know, maybe stationing 1 or 2 with our guys. I think the minimum I've seen down there was maybe 3, 1 all the way on the end and at least 2 up front. But we had probably as many as 7 vehicles down in there and patrolling up and down at one time, plus the downtown area.
I knew on the 29th he did, I could count the
Yeah,
lights.
this night.
Yeah.
The other night, Saturday night. You
Yeah.
know, but I mean, they were there and they had and they knew about this, you know, whether they knew about it from locals that this was going on, and planned for it and planned for them to be there. And they'll do an after write-up just like they did after the parade and everything, and make recommendations and all as well. The chief.
Recommendations to who?
Well, they'll bring them to us, and we can share it with the county and everything, and what they think is needed as well.
Okay. Well, last year, and I said I wasn't going to bring up history, but last year when I went down there and through public information asked for a copy of that application, and then described to the county and showed them videos that I had. They said, "Oh, well, we're not ever going to. We just won't rent to him again." And I said, "Well, I'm sure he's got brothers, sisters, mother, father, uncles, friends." You know, that doesn't solve the problem. Solving the problem is bigger than that. It really is.
So that parking area, do they shut that down at a certain time?
Access to the beach.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because I was concerned because there's quite a few people that exercise, and they park there and then they use the walking trail. Just the comfort area.
There are 2 signs up, like one right before you go out on like if the pavilion is here and you're parking here, they'll go, there's a sign right there at the foot of that parking lot facing the beach. And there's one close to the walkway, and it is their beach ordinance. A little sign about like this. You have to squint to read all the do nots. But it pertains to the beach. Doesn't really pertain to this pavilion. I don't think it does. Or, you know,
Well,
there's nothing about hours on it except that I'm not sure. I've got a copy of it somewhere. I took a picture this week.
Based on the county ordinance, the comfort area does describe the parking lot pavilion as a comfort area, and then on section 4 it does say the comfort area shall be open to the public 1/2 hour before sunrise and then close at 10 p.m. So that parking lot is part of that comfort area.
That's what I thought, but I was told, "Oh no, we didn't pass that." And I said,
But it's in
"Well,
the
that's how I read it."
I'm not sure about that.
Let's, you
That's what the
know,
ordinance is.
can you ask your attorney, please?
Yeah.
Please. Like I said, I will be happy to facilitate in any way possible, but something positive has to happen between our 2 government agencies. Because as local residents, we cannot endure an entire summer of this. And it's just been that bad. And we are begging for your help to reverse this trend because apparently, you know, word's getting out. And my greatest fear, like I told the supervisors yesterday, is that some fool in the middle of a crowd and all this mayhem is going to pull out a gun. And when he does, or she does, then everybody else is going to, you know, you're going to have a tragedy that's going to involve injuries or death. And I don't think I'm over-exaggerating by saying that. I can show you plenty of examples where it's happened, like in Gulfport, like in the city of Baltimore. We're just lucky it has not happened here. Thank you.
Thank
you. Do you have any questions for me?
Caitlin, can you put on the agenda for next item to get a copy of that report the mayor was referring to? Action item report, I guess, from the June 29th event. I'd like to get a copy for the city council to read.
Try to add the 22nd
And the
too.
22nd, please, thank you.
Anyway, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kathleen.
You know, they do have in there, the comfort area, it says this area includes without limitation, the comfort station, the parking lot, pavilion and sand beach within that area. So, but they got restriction on that parking lot. I mean, it affects the, normal citizen that goes in park or somebody that's fishing, you know, that wanna launch their boat, cause that's parking area also, and park their
Somebody's
trailer
driving,
there.
or shelling, whatever. I got a hard time
Yeah, it's
thinking that the parking lot
the balance, right?
is gonna
Yeah.
be part of it, even though it might state or whatever.
Yeah.
I have no.
You do have people stay there that sleep there at night, but, again,
Yeah.
balance.
Unfortunately, you gotta have the rules written, so if you need to enforce it, you can, but if you see somebody going out there soft shelling at 10 o'clock, you know, like,
Right.
you know, you ain't gonna run them off, but if you don't have a rule in place, then you have no remedy for it, right? And that's unfortunate. I mean, we adopted the property maintenance code, right? There's a lot of stuff in there that we hope we never have to enforce, but it's there to have a rule in place in case you need to say, hey, you're violating this rule, it's affecting your neighbor's property, and it's the same way here. There's no harm to having something on the books that you can use to enforce an issue when you need it. If you don't have it on the books, there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm more for having specific rules. Let's think the county has well-defined
No
rules.
alcohol in the parking lot.
Yeah, however you wanna do it, right? I mean, if it's, however you need to do it,
Just
but,
gonna push them out to the beach. though.
yeah. I mean, it is, it's how do you,
I don't
how,
know what the.
how do you balance it, right? And I don't know the answer, but if you don't have a rule written that you can't, there's nothing to enforce. If you had an 8 to 8 curfew in that pavilion, somebody's under having a kid's birthday party, they're fine. Somebody's under having whatever, 150 people out there, it's like, hey, it's 8 o'clock, it says it's closed, it's time to go home. That's what we do at our city parks.
Well, and I will commend the administration, the chief, because I did drive by as well and talk with Lieutenant. It was about 9:30, and one of the concerns was traffic, normal traffic. So folks that are going down there to the ramp or to the pier. So they were really, I do commend y'all for having that presence. But I think that was about 9:30. I think ultimately they started getting everyone out, but it still took till about 11:30. So I mean, if it was 8 to 8, you know, in those events, it still takes time to get them out. That many people out, I
I
think.
mean, we're gonna see the same situation this week with people, you know, at the church.
Right.
You know, you know, it's gonna be huge up there like always and everything, and when it's over, you're gonna see a lot of people on the road leaving every which way they can find it. You know, and in that situation down there, they got 3 ways out, you know, and I don't know how you do it to get them out quicker. You know, you're right, they started breaking it up probably 10 o'clock, something, 10:15, somewhere in that area. And, yeah, trying to get them out. No, at 10:30 I called dispatch. But they was trying to get it down then, according to Push and all.
Yeah, it's about 10:30. Lieutenant Phillips texted me and said they're getting them out. It was about
trying to
10:30.
get it shut down and everything. So the 10 o'clock rule, you know,
Yeah.
is big, and then, you know, you gotta be going by, have the
Well,
way you go by 10, not shut down at
Yeah.
10.
I think you give, you know, give people guidelines to work by, then say like,
And
hey,
also-
I don't wanna have a party down there, cause I gotta be out by 8 o'clock, right? So maybe Washington Street ain't where I need to go have a big party, I need to find a better place. Have my kid's birthday party, I'm fine, I'm done at 8 o'clock, right? So you're not discriminating against anyone, you're just saying, these are the guidelines you need to work within. At 8 o'clock, we're gonna close it, you need to be going. And people like, well, ain't no sense of us going there, cause party's gonna be just getting started. Well, find you another location to have your party if that's what you need be, right? So it's, to me, it's, if you put guidelines on it, specific rules, then you can say, you know, our parks, we have specific guidelines. Parks
And-
closed, gotta go.
And in addition to that, just like the community center, if they have X amount of people, they have to provide security for X amount of people. You know, if this person or anybody wants to throw a big party, then they should bear the overtime expense, not the city taxpayers bearing this city expense.
It's just, I mean, like these things are just, they get out of hand, right? I mean, you could, you know, I remember, heck, we went out to eat one night and somebody said, hey, that's 25 cars at your house. I'm like, we ain't been, left the house 30 minutes, you know, but one kid called one kid, you know, and before you know it,
seen that.
everybody shows up, right? I mean, it's kind of happened to everybody, right? So you can't say, well, I invited 25 of my closest friends, but they all invited 25 of their closest friends, right? And it just gets out of hand, right? Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's one thing for having high school kids
Yeah.
doing something. It's another thing
Right.
for a this guy was throwing his own birthday party and inviting.
Well, and I think if you put time limits on it,
Right.
they're like, I can't go there no more because it's,
Well, you can go
Lock
there,
down.
just abide by the rules.
yes, instead of 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, but again, that would be my recommendation, just county to put, some type of
Like I said,
earlier time limit. Mr. Black, want to come forward?
Just a quick, this goes back to when I was in office, and we adopted the open container law, right? So basically, because my question was to the late former mayor Bubba, I said, what happens on the beach when we adopt this? And I know y'all kind of lightened up in the downtown area, right? Plastic cups.
We have a ordinance for that.
Yeah,
Right.
open container.
But do we still have the ordinance for open container?
Yes,
Is it in place?
please.
Because when the county gives permission and says you're gonna have alcohol, that's violating our ordinance. Because I specifically asked John Scafidi, the city attorney, I said, so if somebody's drinking on the beach, they're violating the ordinance. And the words were used that, well, we'll use it if something gets out of hand. But when the county permits somebody to take that pavilion and say they're gonna have alcohol, that's violating our city ordinance, if it's still in place. The open container law.
But isn't the beach part of the tourism covered under that for
I don't know,
alcohol
I
on
know the
beach?
downtown area was kinda lifted for the open container along with this
That was
plastic
a
cup.
separate, yeah, that was a local private, got passed in Jackson to allow that.
Alright. But
But I-
overall, in
I
Bay
think-
St. Louis, there's an open container law.
There is, but I think the beach allows
Included the
it.
beach, because
I
I
don't know.
specifically asked Eddie.
Yeah.
I said, what about the beach? He
I
said
have
it's
no idea.
included. I said, you're gonna
Something
give
we can
people a
find out.
ticket? You're gonna give people a ticket for drinking beer on the beach? Cause I know when I was growing up, that's what we did. That's the only place we had to go was the beach.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, if that law is still into place, when the
Yeah, yeah.
county gives somebody a permit and says, you can drink alcohol, but you gotta have a sheriff's department there, that's violating our ordinance. So that's something you could check in. Cause actually, what should be done is say, no alcohol, and then if there is alcohol and it gets out of control, you can shut them down for that. But when the county allows them to have alcohol, which violates our ordinance, cause I specifically asked about the beach when all that came up back in the
Remember
mid-nineties.
way back.
Mid-nineties. Is when that was, Tom Farr voted against it. He said, you're gonna arrest me for driving around in my van drinking a beer. Seriously, I mean, we
Behind City
talked
Hall.
about the beach. So, according to John Scafidi, the past city attorney, it includes all of Bay St. Louis open container law. So maybe you need to tell the county, don't allow drinking, and then when drinking goes on and gets out of hand, you can shut them down for that. Just a thought.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good discussions. Mayor, do we have any action items out of this, or are we gonna?
No, we're gonna get together with the county and, chief, and talk with them, and probably next week get with them
Okay,
after they get settled back in from the holiday.
right,
And see,
okay.
what needs to be
I mean, we need some,
adopted, changed, whatever, and it's a good point Tad's got right there, if that's possible.
I think we just need a mechanism to do something if something, if we
And
need to,
again,
right?
there was pretty good communication with everybody.
Right.
We had signs out limiting parking and everything, and, the police department was well aware of what was going on even before the permit was issued, that it was gonna be again this year. I think, again, they did an excellent job down there with it. I think, again, there's still room to improve. But I think it was limited this year with the parking to where it wasn't as big. There's still a lot of people down there. And again, I think when it breaks up, it needs to be, if we're gonna break up, shut it down at 10 means you gotta be out of there for 10. Don't quit playing music at 10 and then take an hour or so, 2 hours to get out of that lingering around, if that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So we'll work with the county and all with that and all, and just see what we got. They got some ideas and all, as well, the chief has his thoughts and all, so.
Okay. All right, we'll follow. Just keep this on the agenda for next meeting, please. All right, that's all the guests. Minutes approval. Motion to approve the minutes, June 18th, 2024. No changes.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Lewis, second, Mr. Hoffman. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 6-0. All right, Mr. Mayor, mayor's report.
Yes, this is a grant for the municipal harbor repairs, it's a hurricane mitigation grant.
It's great.
Which repairs?
The sidewalk and
Settling.
everything.
So the settlement,
Settling.
the settlement
Along the wall.
issues,
All the settlement issues now. This is, we got some money now, I think $600,000-700,000 set aside. They think it's gonna be about.
So that's gonna be the same sidewalks that the wall has to be repaired underneath with the fabric?
No, that's the
Yeah.
south wall. This is the east side of the parking lot. All the way from the railroad tracks, all the way to the Rutherford Pier. All that sidewalk in there, the event deck and all that. That area, this is asking for funds to help with the repairs on this.
So that would take care of the vent deck, the issues we've had at the vent
Yes.
deck?
I think we had $2.1 million for that project.
2.1, I think, was the
Yeah.
magic.
So Moffett
number,
Nichols
they think.
Yeah.
did the
Moffett Nichols.
analysis for us, came back with an estimate in the 2 million plus range.
Yep.
We met with DMR, and General Spraggins, 2 weeks ago maybe. Talked to him about taking our current Tidelands and seeing if we can rescope that to these repairs, which is eligible for Tidelands use. There's no match on Tidelands funds. He also recommended that we put in this grant through Go Mesa and try to get it to Jackson, because the governor has new money in July. So you just said, try to get that up there, and it might be something they could consider. Not guaranteed, but that would try to bridge the gap to give us, a grant to fix that. that damage.
You're talking
Is
about
this
the
a-
Not
Moffett
FEMA,
Nichols?
Moffett Nichols, yes, sir.
Moffett Nichols.
Not the FEMA project stuff. It is the settlement. It's been in litigation. It's been going on. We're trying to find a way to get that funded.
This addresses the with the presentation
Yes,
Moffett Nichols came.
Correct.
The
Yes.
2.1 million, all of the repairs needed that they've outlined is,
Yes.
is in
Correct.
this. Okay. I
So-
thought there was more structural, outside of the sidewalk and harbor, not the harbor, the vent deck.
It is.
But they got to go in and
Total.
dig down, like I explained.
Yeah, they
Put
got
that fabric
They
back.
have to dig down to the mud line to put that fabric down, all the way down.
Okay.
And then they'll come back in backfill and then, of course,
But
This
their
is not
estimate was
part
like-
of that.
pour the side. What's that?
So what you're asking for now is not part of that.
This
Yeah,
is to
thi-
fund
this
that
is-
Moffett
We're
Nichols
trying to get
project.
funding for this project. And this is just asking for some more funds, no guarantee we'll get it like he said. We're just putting in for a grant, that's all it is. And
The
that's
goal
what
is to
that's
get
what it's for.
the Moffett Nichols project, the whole, that 2.1, trying to get that funded through Tidelands and Go Mesa.
Now, how much you have now?
We've got maybe 600,000
Six, 700.
of existing Tidelands that we're trying to, we have to rescope it, basically.
Right.
And that, which is still an eligible project. We met with Sonia out here,
No,
walked
it's
it.
gotta get done.
So-
I mean, that's the enterprise.
But that's what this is, and again, July 1, new budget year kind of thing, so, and the governor has pots of money too, so we want to try to make an ask.
Yeah.
But we got to have an application to have an ask.
All right, need a motion?
Motion, approve.
All right, get back here, everything got lost. All right, got a motion to approve the authorized administration to submit a Go Mesa grant application in the amount of $1.2 million for Bay St. Louis Municipal Harbor repairs and improvements. Motion by
Me.
Mr. Knobloch. Second, Mr. Hoffman. Any more discussion?
Motion by Mr. Me.
Mr. Me?
Mr. Me?
All in
Gary?
favor, vote the motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 6-0.
Thank y'all. Next one is, we had talked before, I think, our driveway, we came in and created an ordinance where you have to have a hard surface, 5 feet, I think it is, off the off the road, before you put limestone down. We thought that would be enough of an apron, so the rocks and all the limestone is not getting dragged back out into the road, creating hazards there. It's really not large enough. We're asking to go to 8 foot with that, just to amend the ordinance from 5 feet to 8 feet with a hard surface.
So do we have specific examples of when we enacted the 5 feet that it's not containing those limestones?
Yeah, if you ride around, look, there's, yeah.
So have we
There
had a lot of, since we enacted the ordinance, have we had, like, just estimated number-wise that have
I
I've
don't
done the
have
apron.
I don't have the number wise how many it is, but when you ride around, you can see where there's a small apron there and it's just getting dragged back out.
What's, the approximate, city right away from the street and the people's property?
It's gonna vary, you know,
Right.
on each road, but, you know, usually you probably got 3 feet at least on some of the roads, maybe more.
I think 8 feet is good, you know,
You know,
yeah.
and,
that's a good
and
number.
there's a contractor that does this. And if you look at his, I don't want, you know, his is pretty good, and he goes a little further up in there than that, but it keeps it from coming out in the road, creating them, the hazards. And what we're seeing now, people just going in and putting them in the right of way without even permits or anything, just, you know, going in and doing that. And it's really creating a hazard, it's tearing the roads up, it's, you know, if a motorbike comes through there and hits it, it's about like, you know, the
Wait,
grass
they're doing,
and
what are they
everything
doing in
else.
the right of way? What are they?
Huh?
What are they doing in the right of way?
Just coming in, bringing rocks, filling in for
So they're not
parking.
doing the apron. They're just doing rocks.
Yeah, they
without an
just
apron.
bringing them in.
Right.
And
I
it's
mean-
hard to tell when they were brought in, some of them.
Yeah.
You know, was it before this was passed or whatever, but it's still in the right of way, and I think we got a right to go back and remove them if they didn't have a permit. And if they did have a permit, then they should have put the apron down.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
what I'm
but-
saying. If that's, I mean, that's one thing if there's no apron, but if we have a 5-foot apron, I just. Yeah.
But we've seen, you know, this building department sees it a lot when they're out and all. Vince has noticed it when he's out with code enforcement and all, and again, you know, it's an extra 3 feet, something that, you know, they feel is needed for the, you know, long run and the safety of, you know, motorbikes, bicycles, pedestrians, and everything else walking through there.
Might wanna do something also, you know, if they have a culvert running through there, they might wanna cross that culvert with concrete, you know, with that pad, instead of,
Right.
you know.
Well, yeah, that would be, if it's in that drive, that would be a no, yeah.
Right.
So, right now, I've not seen this enacted in my area at all, 0 times.
You haven't seen what?
This ordinance followed in my area 0 times. I asked Mr. Riso to give me a.
On new houses?
Brand new houses, yes, sir. I asked Mr. Riso to give me copies of permits that have been done. We have no permits to be done. So to me, I haven't seen it, so I'm not, it's a useless ordinance in my area. To me, I'd rather just abolish it if we're not gonna enforce it. Or maybe building department didn't know about it, or, but yeah.
No, they're the ones that created this.
Okay, so why aren't they
So, you know, again,
enforcing?
Well, and that's kind of why I would like to see specific examples where the 5-foot's not working, because I don't want to keep adding and carrying costs to the homeowners, because everything adds up. So I want to just kind of see specific examples where 5 feet is not adequate, and so to your point, Councilman Seal, is
Yeah,
I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'd like to just leave this on the books and table it personally until we, get some pictures and where it newly installed, 5 foots have been installed and they're not working. Areas that have new construction since November 7th. All new construction that has gravel should have been required to do this. And like to see the initial ordinance, if we need it, enforced. And if we, and then I said, you said there's been several that's been done, so can we have pictures of those done?
Yep.
And just, and I agree, there could be some safety issue. I ride a motorcycle every day. That is not a big
I
concern of
don't,
mine.
so.
It's not a big concern of mine.
You know.
I mean, a moped or something, yeah, you're right. A bike,
Blowing
kid with the
grass
bikes,
out in the yard,
you do,
in the
yeah.
street, you know?
I agree. There's some safety there's some safety factors to it, I agree. But today I do not see this being implemented, as we had presented it. I'd like to, personally table it till the next meeting and get some photographic evidence of 5 foot not working and a number of permits have been issued to implement the November 7th ordinance.
So get a list of permits that have been
Yeah.
issued. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody has any other questions.
I mean, we could table it, but they just did one on, first block of Washington Street. They just put one in, and, instead of bringing the gravel all the way to the road, they
Yeah.
poured that,
The reason I see this, I've been walking in my neighborhood more since
yeah,
it's been so dang hot during the day, so at night I'm out walking and
right.
I see stuff now. So,
Yeah.
all right, we'll just, we table this until next meeting.
But they
No,
got
I'm good.
sidewalk
Good.
too, so.
All right, next, Mr. Mayor.
So we're gonna table this one.
I mean, if that's,
Yeah, that's fine.
That's it.
There's
Ready
one more.
to- The golf course, wanna talk about the interlocal, discuss anything on it?
Oh, yeah, okay, I got it. All right, yeah. You know, I've had a few phone calls, my understanding, they've contacted all the council and all this, I don't know.
Who's called us?
Huh?
Who's called?
That the council's been notified about this,
This is the first time
an
hearing. it.
interlocal.
I got one call today, one alderman asked me about it, and I said, you know, I've always been an impression, we said, once Waveland got a reciprocal agreement, like Bay St. Louis's, we would honor it, right? And I think Mr. Riso had a good point, right, because the one Sunday night, the one that was on our website, or on our package, is not this one. So I contacted the city attorney, she's like, oh, yeah, I need to look at that, and so now we got a brand new one, which is good.
Yeah,
But I
and
think-
she is not, I'm not even sure she's had a chance to look at this.
Well, somebody wrote this new one. This is a brand new one, cause this is not what was I reviewed Sunday night.
So,
So I
Came
don't know
from
who,
Waveland.
this is Waveland's?
Yeah, they
This is
sent
I
it
think
us.
so,
Alright, so,
yeah.
do,
Again,
I think,
I would just,
Riso
you know,
had a
comment to it
point.
is, you know, we received this, there's been communication between, I think, their police chief, their mayor, members of their council to others, some of y'all, Mike. And I want to stress this, they wrote this, sent this to us, and they're saying, hey, would y'all consider this?
Right.
And before we put a lot of time and energy into it, as the council, is that something y'all want to consider? Basically, they're saying, if golf carts from Bay St. Louis drive into Waveland, or Waveland's golf carts drive into Bay St. Louis, can they basically be reciprocal in using their permits?
Yeah, I've never
Compared
had
to
an
having
issue
had
with that.
Double,
As long as they
double,
got their
double
insurance.
stickers.
right,
Well,
They're-
one of
they're
one of the
paying it back.
holdbacks on that is we was having,
We were yearly, they were
we were yearly, and they was a one-time deal, and people was going
but now they're going to yearly.
to them to get their their permit.
Yeah.
And we had businesses registering their golf carts in Waveland, but their business was in Bay St. Louis, just because they had to pay a one-time fee. Now, again, I know of no one that got a ticket, driving from Waveland to Bay St. Louis. Maybe one was given, I don't know. But it's one of the things now, they've gone to a yearly, renewal, just like we have, to reciprocate what we have and all. And don't know if this can be done just with a change of ordinance,
right.
or if it has to go to the Attorney General, for,
I think in here it does state it
Local.
has to go to Jackson.
Well,
Yeah.
and I, yeah,
If you
think-
do an interlocal, you've got to go to Jackson with
Yeah.
it.
right,
And my, kind of, again, this is noon today, I'm reading this, and my question, and again, Heather's in Starkville, so she's not here, but can both cities just amend their existing ordinance to include some language that, okay, we're gonna recognize Waveland,
right.
and they're gonna recognize Bay St. Louis, that way it is written.
Yeah, that would be the
And
easy,
can
that'd
that
be
be
the
done
best way to
compared
do it,
to
right?
having to, every 4 years,
Right.
revisit an interlocal agreement?
Do they have the same permitting standards we have? I mean, it says
Yeah, I
on
think
here,
the
low
state
speed.
law
pretty
now,
much.
the state law now pushes that down.
Right.
Of
So
what
what
the
is-
requirements
So
are.
low speed, because that's the first time I've ever seen it over the weekend, is there's a motorized carriage, horse carriage. We're going downtown. I got a picture. Have y'all seen those?
Yeah,
yes, he come got his business license today.
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah,
So that
pretty
qualifies, they've gone through the permitting process, and that qualifies as a low-speed vehicle, that falls under this. What are they doing with them? Is it shuttling, are they shuttling people, or is it just
Yeah, they're
renting
not
them?
charging. They just providing a service. You wanna give them a tip, give them a tip.
Yeah, so-
I think he's wanting to do it for the weekend and all, with the Crab Fest, try to shuttle people around.
But not the bike, the actual, it's a horse carriage.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
motorized horse carriage,
carriage.
Like a
That's
golf
it.
cart, but
yeah,
yeah.
but yeah,
And I think Waveland changed their ordinance to try to mirror ours, so
They
it
did.
would be reciprocal, because
Yeah.
it's been a discussion on social media for a couple of years now, if you can or can't, and
Right.
what's gonna happen,
And back
so.
and forth, yeah.
That's why I
and
think it would be good to get, whether it's through ordinance or in local, get some
I
kind
think
of
it's just good to have it in writing. like
clear
you said.
guide.
yeah, we need it in writing, I agree,
what
I
we're
agree.
Clear.
gonna do, I mean.
And
so-
historically, if y'all remember, the cities used to have to go get a local private to be able to create an ordinance to allow the golf carts. The state got so many of them, they basically said, look, we're gonna take care of it on our end. They wrote legislation, so now you no longer need a local private. It gives the city the authority to deal with the ordinance. again, I'm not an attorney, but my question would be is instead of interlocal, can you just amend the ordinance?
Just amend it.
Make it simple.
Right, that'd be great.
And that'd be good
Respectful
too,
and-
because we got
Yes.
some roads that
But-
would like to maybe possibly add into our ordinance that are not there now.
But I think what's important and what I think I'm
Change
hearing,
everything to 25 and they'd be allowed everywhere.
Right.
Only 3 roads, I think.
I've had Bay Marina call me and say, my people come here and they got campers here year round, golf course here year round. Legally, it's not supposed to go downtown because
It needs to
they,
go- that sign needs
2
to go-
blocks down past the speed limit.
Sign needs to go
Yeah.
100 yards, 100
Yeah.
yards down the road and they'll be in it.
Yeah, so I mean, so there's some things that we couldn't think of everything when we
Right.
wrote
Oh,
it.
No.
But now it's time to change some
But
things if
then,
we
Mr.
can.
then someone from out there, or now, he's gonna come in and complain, cause he can't go 35 no more, he can only go 25.
I get that call monthly
you
when
get
they
that
sitting
call.
on
Well,
Washington
that was the
Street getting
deal,
the
that's why
tickets.
it's like that.
I know,
We went to 25.
I know,
Man, it takes all day to get home.
I know, right?
Really?
I know, but no, I mean, it's good, but Mr. Russo, so you're
But I
gonna
think
follow up and see if we can.
yeah, I
amend the
just wanna make
ordinance.
sure, I mean, the communication I'm hearing from council is that we definitely wanna explore, find a way that,
Make it happen.
that
Yeah,
can happen
and if-
between the two cities.
If you can't do the ordinance, we can
That's
do
what
the
I hear.
interlocal.
Yeah.
We don't.
One way or the other, just.
Going
we-
forward,
we'll
we'll
keep
put
moving,
We
get it
can
done.
put it in writing with an amendment to the ordinance, that's
If-
wonderful.
if that's
If we
legal.
need to do interlocal, we go
Yeah,
interlocal.
let's have it
We'll
ready
keep
for next
working on it.
meeting.
You know, that also opens
Possible.
up people that are staying in Bay St. Louis can go down to Silver Slipper or something.
Nope.
Hmm?
That's the county.
Not on beach.
That's state road.
That's the state. That's different. Legally, once you pass Buccaneer, you're in county. You're not in Waveland anymore.
Oh.
And I've been a bad
Like
boy.
county.
I've been to the Silver Slipper on my golf cart, and if I got a ticket, I will pay it. But that's part of the rules, right?
Not supposed
Well,
to.
it'll get them that much
And I have
closer.
two stickers on my golf cart, and I've always had 2 stickers.
They'll shuttle
Because
them from the,
It ain't, you
from
know,
the
wasn't no big deal.
parking lot.
Yeah. All right, cool. Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Oh.
And you. I know. Yeah.
But can you
Yeah.
get to Kenton Suits?
Yeah, you can't go to Kenton Sue's. Let's go down Third March Road. We got council business. Motion to authorize the administration to advertise request proposals for prearranged debris hauling contractors. We had talked to Mr. Riso the other day about this, and today's discussion. You explain what we have to do.
Yeah, and the council, we had advertised once before, and then we actually got authorization to advertise again. In that meantime, when we hired Tetra Tech, they had indicated to us FEMA had changed some of their rules regarding hangars, in particular, hangars and leaners, those details. So they said, hey, take another look at that. And so we basically, it had been a while, so in talking, to Councilmember Doug, we basically said, look, we'll just put the motion back on. Let's kind of kick this and make it move. So
Yeah, we
we'd
need
like
to.
to have good authorization again, get the advertisement out.
Yeah.
We've been in touch with Tetra Tech this week and getting that language on the leaners and hangers.
Okay.
So that's being done.
With this, did
So
we go into
basically have an advertisement within 2 weeks.
did we go into is it the same with the monitoring? Would we have to go into this different, because didn't we put that up for monitoring
We
also?
already
The
have that.
monitoring's already done.
That-
and
so there's
your
no need to
consultant's
change
already
that.
done. No,
Yeah,
that's
so
already
it's just
done.
all
This
these
is just
changes
the
done.
contract of the hall.
Okay.
Yeah, we should have did this a couple months ago, and I think we just let it slip away, cause, you know, it'll be 2 months now before we can do it, and we in
But if
middle of
we get through
hurricane
this,
season.
we're kind of looking, within 2 weeks, basically have something in the paper.
Yep. So you'll have an advertisement 2 weeks. Today's,
Y'all give me authorization, then we'll move.
It's second.
That time frame.
so do we need to give you,
We don't have to.
okay.
There's nothing, all I need is the authorization, just the way
Okay.
it's written.
All right, need a
And we'll go
motion?
from there.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Hoffman.
Second.
Second, Mr. DeSalvo. Any more discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0.
And Doug asked to clarify, just, it is, because it's a contractor,
Right.
it's gotta run the paper 2 weeks, then you gotta wait 15 business days before you can open those bids, so just
So
the
we're
timeline on
talking
that.
45 days from now. Cause you told me you need 2 weeks to get it ready, or
2 weeks.
you can advertise it now.
No, we'd have to get,
We have to,
we'd have to RFP together and be able to have that ready to go when that hits the paper. So 2 weeks to hit the paper,
So 45 days from now,
something like
is what
that.
we're saying. I mean, because we're in the middle of hurricane season.
Shouldn't be
Right.
that long, huh? 2 weeks advertised, 15 days for the, so.
Well,
You gotta
we-
advertise for 2 weeks straight,
Yeah.
2 Thursdays,
gotta-
and then
You're
you gotta
saying
wait.
may I
just to
have
get
the
it
RFP
ready.
ready for a week or two
Okay.
before?
Yeah.
We'll get it.
All right, leave this on the agenda. I'll put a date on it that we expect 45 days from now, please. All right, any, council business? Mr. Hoffman?
I talked to the administration about, I got some calls from some of the residents on St. George in the 400 block and that area. And there's some issues going on. I think that part of the overall drainage plan that we're working on now, what the mayor was saying, I was hoping the engineer would be here, but maybe next meeting we can talk about it a
Yeah,
little more in
you know,
detail. But
on the end of St. George, on Nikkei's end down there, we have some, I think we'll see it when they come up with the video and of the sewer lines and all. We got some leaks down on that end there we need to get repaired. But the 400 block of St. George and the 400 block of State are two streets that's in need of that as well, you know, so.
we'll get the repairs done to the sewer, and then we can get the repairs done
We can
to the
get
streets
something
and
done to the road.
get them repaved.
Yeah. And that end, Nikkei's end is, you can see the big dip and everything and all down there. The other area we're looking at is right past Kyle and them down there on 3rd Street. I'm hoping it's just paction, you know, where, you know, it wasn't time, give it time after Katrina for it to pack down. You can see that road down there is about like Dunbar used to be over by Felicity and all. That area's getting bad, so they're checking those two areas out as well.
Oh, by 3rd Street?
Yeah.
All right,
It looks like it's following, you know, our main line going down through there,
Mhm.
but just hopefully it's just, you know, the compaction and all is finally settling now.
Not a hole in the pipe.
Yeah, you know, we're seeing a lot of drainage issues. I think, what is that, you have Citizen Street up in the 100 block on the end, where a lot of our basins and all are leaking around and all, where whatever they did back then after the storm, you know, some things wasn't caught maybe and all, and just starting to, you know, cave in as well.
Councilman Hoffman, I don't want to interject on your
ahead.
business, but just to tack onto that, I think, and I've talked to Jason about it in the past, so there's a storm drain on the corner of 3rd and Cary, and not one drop of water hits that storm drain. It all goes on the other side of the
It
street.
washes across it.
And St. Charles,
Yeah, so I
3rd
mean,
and St. Charles
but
also.
it just that drain stays bone dry because all the water flows on the other side of the street. So I think if we were to move that drain, that would mitigate a lot of the sitting water on 3rd as well.
Yeah.
And the drain sits too high over here on, over there behind Chillamilgris's, thing behind my office. The water drains too high and the water just floods. That don't go down the drain.
Across the street
Mhm.
from you, on the,
Yeah.
behind you?
Yeah, you know, on the corner,
that corner.
Arnold and, what's that, 9th?
Yeah.
I remember when Buddy built that, built it too high.
All right, looks like August 20, we should be able to open them bids. So let's put that on, keep that in front of us so we can make sure we make that deadline.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Mr. Hoffman?
That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Reed?
Nothing.
Salvo?
I'm good.
Yeah, quick question on,
Oh.
so on the landscaping culverts, so when I think we did did an ordinance or we did a stop to a moratorium to where they've got to get a structural engineer approval, right? And if they got a ditch and they're filling that in, say if they have a driveway. So did we change to where, because it used to be, I thought, my impression was that if the citizen buys the materials, goes through the process permits and gets the materials, the city would install? We've changed that?
No, we stopped doing that because we couldn't keep up.
Couldn't keep up?
Yeah. You know, if it's a driveway or something, one culvert, you know, they can go install. But if we got so far behind, I mean, people was waiting a long
So it's putting
time
a
to get
backlog on
culverts.
ML, because, and the goal of that too, I'm sure that to initiate that with the city is we know where it drains and it's done right, to where if you hire a contractor and, I mean, yeah, they
Well,
can follow
that's
the
why,
engineering
you know,
plans,
to get
but-
their permits, Ronnie and them keeps a close eye on that, making sure they'll size the culverts and everything, and then check it, make sure it's flowing right, make sure the culvert's the right way and everything.
Do we have language that deciphers whether or not it's something we can do internally, or they have to contract out, or do it themselves? Or is it based on subjective, hey, this is too big for us to do? Like,
No, they'll go do one for your driveway, you know, if it's just that, you know,
but if it's more than one colt, then it's,
they try, and they usually tell them, you know, they have to get an outside if they won't close the ditch in.
okay.
So if they do close the ditch in,
But we
Oh,
still
they
have to
have it
inspect it and
engineered.
Yeah.
approve it and everything.
excuse me?
We still have to inspect it and approve, and they still have to get their permit.
And so they can't put down more than 40-foot length of pipe without having a clean out.
It's
correct?
60 foot. They wanna change that to 40. That's one of the things they
I
want.
thought we changed that a long time
No,
ago.
I don't think we did. I'll check to make sure. I hope so, but I don't think we did. I know we've talked about it a few times.
And do we still have to need, do we still need an engineer?
Yeah.
Is that what we
We
need?
never lifted that moratorium.
No, correct.
That's because so many people were just going out throwing
And look, it
garbage
still
into the
happens,
pipe out there.
I
especially,
thought we
you know,
just filling in a ditch and they weren't even putting pipe down.
yeah, that
That-
goes on a lot, you know, on the waterfront area.
That's terrible. in
Which,
my ward.
which if it was done right, you know, that's the idea. If everybody would leave their property line natural from road to the bayou, then you don't need ditches. You know, you could just section it off and go, about like they doing in, what's off 603 by the boat launch, the subdivision there, Admiral Isle. They went in there on every property line and cut a swale that goes from the road to the bayou. And if that, you know, it's way too late in that area. But to me, to have a ditch on waterfront property is just, you know, I don't know, wasted. You know, it's gonna hold water every time the tide comes in and everything. But if you create that swale from the road and falls,
Goes back out in a bunch of
Goes
places.
back
Yeah.
to the bayou.
it would just be a natural fall in there. But again, we way late on that.
No, trust me. Biggest complaint gets water's in the road, but yet they built up the property 2 feet, they sloped it to the road and didn't, they filled in the whole ditch. Where
Yeah.
do you think it's gonna go? I mean,
We have that. You know, water standing in the road, look at your property.
Doug, can you put that thing on that culvert, you know, that, for the next meeting so we can change that?
it's a 40 foot.
Cause you can't clean your culverts out if you don't put a cleaning state,
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at. I do have, I got, well, we just reinstated the moratorium. I don't have the culvert.
If you don't
You
do
talking
what?
about the 40
Gary?
foot, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I thought
I got
we
a note
talked
on
about
that.
that years ago, about having a clean out every 40 feet.
How long is the hose on that jether machine they got? 100 foot?
Oh, it's long.
Cause the only problem is the clean out costs more than the culvert.
It does.
Every time you buy a clean out in the lid, you're gonna spend $600 to do that every 40 foot, you know, and take out 100 for the hose. I mean, just something to think about.
Cause Ronnie was saying.
No, we gotta be able to clean the ditch. You gotta be able to clean the pipe.
That's what I say, but they got like 100 something for hose on that jether machine they bought, I thought, though. That's
Well, I still say 40, Jason's recommendation around 40 foot, but
We'll get with them and find out.
I think 40 was,
I got a note
Hmm.
of that.
I think 40 is what's recommended, like you talked
All right,
about.
can you put that, Caitlin, put that on the next agenda for council business, please? Yeah, so we did, July 5th, actually, 2022, motion to reinstate a moratorium on the intentional covering of drainage ditches with the exception of a city engineer's approval until further notice.
that's right. So if they went to Jason and
Said
he
city
stamped
engineer's
off
approval.
on it and it was good, they'd go get a
So,
permit.
July 5th, 2022, when we did that moratorium. But yeah, and we all know why we want to make sure they're doing it right, of course, to keep the,
I don't wanna fall backwards,
yeah, right?
like a couple I know of.
Anything else, Mr. Lewis?
Oh, yeah, just one other quick update. I know we reached out last week about that livestock over in Spanish Acres. Were you able to find anything out? Because I know code enforcement and animal control worked hard on getting that.
Vince come back today,
Uh-huh.
and he was on it. I don't know what he found out, but he was gonna get with Sandy and I'll see what happened in court. and
Okay,
everything,
yeah, I think that's where it
and
kind of fell off.
revisit get all the notes that Billy had and all, and revisit that.
I honestly think it was a technicality that they didn't have
He said something about
the lady's name listed on it.
wrong, gave it to the wrong person.
I think it's a name because it's a renter. So yeah, we'll touch base. Thank you. That's all I've got, Councilman Sue.
No block?
Also, could you check, I know I mentioned it a while back about cleaning out the culverts over at Pecan Park and Old Spanish Trail. And then at the back entrance also, they're plugged up pretty good. And, they also have, they still have the, telephone poles in the ditch on St. Charles, close to the Old Spanish Trail.
They never got that.
Nah,
Corn Park and where Gary St. Charles?
yes. And it just mattered just probably blowing it out or digging it out or so.
Good?
I can't think of anything else. Push did a good job the other day. I did talk to him for a good while when I was out there. He had everything under control, so, other than the noise,
Yeah. 10-4,
he was keeping the parking moving.
good deal. All right, public forum, Mr. Jerry?
I'm Jerry Linton, I live in up Rampart Street, Citrus subdivision. I'm also a member of the VSL Trio. It's a local Class Rock Band. We played this week 3 times at the pavilion at the depot, the big one. And it's a pretty building, but it's horribly designed. Whoever built it or approved it, it's oriented wrong. We sat for 3 hours in the bright sun every time you play out there. I can't believe this hasn't come up before. Maybe it has, and I haven't heard about it. But I invite all of y'all to take a chair and go sit on the stage tomorrow at 4 o'clock when the sun, sit out there till the sun goes down. Kelsey Moran played last month, and she almost had heat stroke from it. And you know, it was a part on all of it. It can be remedied with an awning of some type, either one that projected out or one that comes straight down. But something has to be done. Either that or tear it down, because it's really not functional. It's really, really poor. I think they must have designed it at night, because they couldn't have done that with the sun facing west like that. It's in a poor position where it is anyhow, because there's no shade anywhere close to it. So people even have to be way back by the oak trees. But I mean, something really needs to be done, because it's dangerous up there.
Are there any, do we have fans on that?
Any what?
Do we have any oscillating fans? We don't have any.
There's nothing, there's no provisions in it for
Would
anything.
would that help?
And the roof actually goes up like.
It goes the wrong way.
Goes up instead of slanting, so it opens the pavilion up to just the sunlight, I mean, just beaming in there.
It's horrible. I mean, it should have been designed the other way with the roof coming down.
Right.
But it shouldn't be facing west anyhow. The whole thing should have been north and south. It should have had a small stage on the south and the other one on the north. I mean, that's a mute point. But something really, really needs to be done. I mean, we were out there, I did 3 times this week out there, and it was miserable.
We've got money in that
It's
grant fund
dangerous.
at the depot, don't we? Is that something we could look at, or no?
We're one of those high, those sail shade canopy things that people use a lot now.
You can need something retractable.
Yeah, just
Because, you know, with the wind, it can only be, my personal opinion would be a drop-down shade, a roll-down shade. Because if you put anything that projects out, those kind of crank out, they're problematic. You know, either you have to be electric or whatever. But if you had one that was rolled down, it could roll within maybe 8 feet from the ground, and whoever's on it could just back up a little bit, and then you'd be in shade the whole time. I mean, it could be like, we play at Bowie's all the time, and they have a thing over the top of it, and it's not a hard cover, but it does actually, you know, block the sun and something like that. But it's gotta be something that's retractable. You can't leave there unless they built a solid steel one, you know, in front. But really, I implore y'all to do something about it, because I mean, it's miserable.
So something kind of in the inside of the columns that's adjustable or retractable, not a permanent, but something that's adjustable and.
Yeah, you know, I have on my house, I have roll down shades, you know, they crank down, and that could be something like that. But I'm sure they're not gonna be cheap, but it's to me, it's useless. I mean, it's just it's a pretty building.
It's pretty, right? But that's it.
But it's poorly designed. I'm telling you, it really is. Frank Lloyd Wright would kick whoever designed
We all
it.
looked at it and never occurred to me to.
You know, it
We've
really
all
didn't
looked
to
at
me
the
either
design, we
until I
just
got
never-
to play on it. When I
never
got to
occurred to
play
us.
on it, it was just, I mean,
Right.
I had 2 fans blowing at me. I drank 3 jars of Gatorade, and I was still just whipped. You know?
I think sunshade sounds like a cost-effective alternative.
Yeah, I mean, rather than build something permanent, you
Right.
know, something that would just roll down, and then when they finish, you roll it back up. Because you can't leave it, you know, you can't, a sail works well,
But
but,
it'd be gone.
but, you know, the winds we have, it'll end up getting torn up. So it's gotta be something that can be retractable and safe from any storm.
Cool.
That's it. I
Thank you.
appreciate y'all's
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is.
Pat Black, 211 7th Street. Gentlemen, I'm sure y'all aware of the Valentine properties. They're coming through the Chancellery's Court. It's coming up. The property owners have been notified, petitioned.
I get
And
notified about
I'd
property.
like to know, where's the city stand on this project? Are we with the people, or are we, what are we doing with it? What are we doing in the lawsuit for as the city?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to, I probably get 3 or 4 phone calls or emails a day for the past month on this petition, the summons that was issued. You know, so I don't know at what Liberty administration, I know we got notice, 2 weeks ago as a city?
About that.
Do we know what time frame we had to respond? Have we gotten that information?
July 5th. What the email I got from the Density for Doll group said you have to have your response in by July 5th.
have we validated those dates, or do we know if we?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't, we talked about it in executive session the other night, but to tell you where we stand
Where
right
do y'all
now.
stand on it? Where does my two councilmen stand on it?
I mean, it was denied, that's why it's
Yep.
in court.
We denied it.
We're going with the property owner, with the residents.
As far as it's legal, hold
If,
it up,
if
yeah.
you'll give me a couple of minutes, I'd like to, for some that maybe not know. You know, the housing project that was there before was built in the late fifties. Is that somewhere correct? Somewhere in the late fifties, right?
For my time.
Somewhere 57, 58, somewhere in there.
You remember that as a kid, I don't.
I know, because I'm older than you. Well, you know, zoning wasn't adopted in Bay St. Louis to 1964. Okay, so why? And so they zoned that R2 because that was duplex, right? That was duplexes, the housing, but everything else around it was zoned R2 also, which is really R1, R1A or whatever. It fits in with the small lots. Every house around there is single dwelling. You know, the state statute says there's two reasons you can change zoning. One, it was zoned wrong in the beginning, or the zoning around it has changed. Correct? If you read the state statutes on how you can change zone. Okay? My thought is that, yes, it was zoned R2 in 1964 because that was the correct zoning for the housing project. But when they zoned Ballantyne and Citizen, everything around it to R2, that was zoned wrong because it was all single dwelling homes.
That was probably in 10, Tad.
Huh?
That was probably in 2010, the last zoning ordinance.
No, I'm talking about the original zoning in
I don't know what it
1964.
was
It was
originally.
zoned R2.
But-
The housing project was correct because it was duplex. Ricky Favre lived there, right? I used to go there all the
Yeah.
time as a
but
kid.
The new zoning ordinance was done in 10.
And then again, the 17th, I think there was an error, was never formally
There was.
advertised.
So, I mean, whatever's in there now was approved in 2010
All
or
right,
17.
well, let me just say this. When the first comprehensive plan was adopted, right, in 1999, we adopted a future land use map. And unfortunately, it kind of just fell to the side. Because I can tell you, all of Ward 4 that is zoned R2 was gonna be rezoned R1, if it wasn't a duplex on it already, cause you did have some duplexes on Citizen Street, and one here and one there, right? But, you know, I don't know what they're wanting to build there. I know they're wanting to call something they're calling it a duplex, and it's no way if it's anything like it's been built on the seminary property, if that's what they wanna put there, hell, I'll mortgage my house and help you so. Because we don't need that, because that's gonna be short-term rent. And you know, and we're already, the data shows that we're already over what we should be as short-term rent. You know, and how we gonna get a handle on it? I know Mr. Lewis brought it up a couple of years ago, and it fell on deaf ears. But, so we have the data now saying that we shouldn't have 10% of our housing as short-term rent. But anyway, it was zoned in 64. The housing project was there in the late 50s, so they zoned it right. But everything around it was zoned R2, which was wrong. That's why it should be changed back to R1, because that's maybe R1A, R1B, whatever the width and all that is for those. I forgot that over the years. But I just want to know where the council stands, because if they do put something like they did by the seminary on Ballantyne Street in Central, that's just what the comprehensive plan, the new one says we don't want. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it says.
And just to touch
We
upon-
don't want those types of things. We don't want those types of development in a R1, which all of that is R1 around that. Every bit of it.
Another interesting thing though, Tad, was that before Hurricane Katrina, we had approximately 250, 270 low-income housing units. After Katrina, we built 10 times more than that
Right.
back.
Thank your governor,
And so,
Haley Barber, and all of his contractors that work for him. That's where it came from.
well, yeah, the point was is that we came back with, we got about 1,200 units now,
Right.
which we don't need that anymore, which if they tried to go into that. balance.
I'm not saying they're gonna do a housing project.
I'm just saying,
they're gonna do
that's what it
short-term
used to
rental.
be though.
Well, and just to touch upon the dates we spoke of, just because in 2010 and 17, when there's rezoning, that area was vacant. It doesn't mean that, I mean, it could very well have been
They
to
make
this
it
point,
from
no-
06 to now.
an oversight in the fact that you don't know what problem.
You know, the corner down there, this house has been there before our time,
Yeah, I mean, and it's
except for the three on the corner.
and it's predominantly single
That's
family.
all old family.
That was all there 50 years before
Summers,
zoning was
Bilbo's,
adopted.
You know, all them.
And it's predominantly, I've counted on that street, there's approximately 30 homes. I think there might be one that could be
Duplex.
duplex, maybe.
One.
But outside, so it's
Well, they
single
got a
family.
few on St. Charles.
Yeah, but I'm
couple of
talking this
duplexes.
one block.
Right.
But anyway, I just wanted to know where the council and the city stands, because it's coming up. And according to the email we got from Density for Dollars, that you need to get your opposition in by July 5th.
Can we get an answer to that, or can you let me know if that is the deadline and what our response is to the petition?
I can look on my phone, pull up the email, and tell you. I mean, just what the email said.
Yeah, because I know there's it's 30, you have 30 days to respond upon last notification, so it's kind of.
Because they even give you an option to object to it and let you email it in. So I was just curious whether so the city is fighting against the developer,
As much
right?
as
That's
we-
why they're suing us?
As much as we can, but I think legally, once they meet all our requirements as spelled out in today's zoning, there's not much more we can do.
But I think
except
what
set
Mr.
the
Black,
city up
I
for a
think what Mr.
lawsuit.
Black's trying to say is that zoned correctly?
Well, so here's the
But-
map from 2010.
Yeah.
See all the yellow? That's R2.
Uh-huh.
See all that yellow? That's all R2. That's not been changed. Yes, there's been a change in character, but the zoning from 2010, that's all R2.
And
There's
I'll
no
go home and
change.
get my comprehensive book out from 2000
There's no
and show you where the future land use map says all that should be changed to
But
R1.
it was not done.
I know.
So
I left the council in 2001.
Yep.
You came on the council and it sat on deaf ears. Nobody did anything with the future land use map. Nobody.
find a copy
Ever
of
was
it.
brought up.
Yep.
Matter of fact, that's what caught it over here with the subsidized housing in your district. That was R3, and the future land use map is supposed to be R1, because everything around it was R1.
So you
Anyway, just want to get y'all's opinion on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Close the damn thing. All right, city project updates, anything? Anything?
Good.
Good.
What's the status of the harbor on those repairs for the
South wall and dredging.
Zeta, whichever Jason's working on it?
Dredging is waiting on permits to, I don't know why it takes that long to get a permit. Anyway, they're waiting on that. There's a new guy with FEMA now. He's got questions about the south wall. Every time they change the frickin',
Wow.
Always a new one.
you know,
Person, rep-
guy, you know, they got questions. So, working with Miss Murdis on that, she's trying to get it pushed through to get everything finalized so we can move forward on that. Same thing with the roads, we got a meeting,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow?
No,
No, next week. Next week, I'll let you know, on that, what time we got with FEMA as well about the road repairs and all from Ida, Zeta, whichever one it was as well, same thing. So,
All right. Mr. Riso?
Just two motions. Motion to approve docket of claims 24-034 dated July 2, 2024 in the amount of $295,219.37. I had not received any questions.
Nope, no questions on that.
I have a question. Did we raise the salary of the city prosecutor? I mean, he's turning in a bill for $1,500, but I don't ever
The-
remember the council raising that.
yeah,
Last budget
Yeah,
cycle,
we-
maybe?
That was one, I think that's what it's been since I've been here.
Okay,
One gets 1,000, who,
He was gonna just sent like four in
What's
at
his
one
name?
time.
yeah.
Cabrera gets 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them's 1,000, one of them's 1,500.
Yeah, so judge is 1,000.
Okay, yeah. I just-
Judges.
I'm not sure what the judges is.
I did see that from there's going back to March. They're just not being submitted timely.
Yeah, it's just how he submits.
Okay.
He just
Every quarter.
told him, he just,
I got you.
All right, need a motion to approve docket of claims 24-034 dated July 2nd, 2024, in the amount of $295,219.37.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Salvo.
Second.
Second, Mr. Novak. Any discussion? Vote for motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passed 6-0. motion to approve docket claim special 24-035 dated July 2nd, 2024, in the amount of $10,000. Motion.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Salvo, second.
Second.
Mr. Hoffman, any discussions? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passed 6-0. Consent agenda, any questions on the consent agenda?
I do, it's not on here, but we discussed it last meeting, that elevator at the depot, we were waiting to get another, I guess the group that's coming in and doing the repairs, they're gonna give another quote if we receive that for the replace, or if it's necessary to replace.
Ronnie was working with them, getting some potential, I guess companies in to do the, everyday work on them, and getting some input in from them as far as what, does it really need to be rebuilt now, or is it in good enough shape to continue as we are?
We just haven't gotten that feedback yet.
No. And again, he, still no calls, so.
All right, need a motion to approve consent agenda?
But could we leave that on the agenda, next agenda, the elevator?
Might put it back on there. I think it's at one of the bottom here.
The elevator?
Well, I saw elevator somewhere in my perusals. Maybe it was in a minute.
Yeah, that was from last
Yeah,
meeting.
okay.
One other thing,
Yeah, I thought I saw it.
on this approval for the annual maintenance of these generators, have y'all seen the disparaging, how different they are?
Yep.
I mean, are you sure this guy that you're gonna award this contract to why is everybody else so much more?
I don't know.
But he
One
doesn't
of 'em-
list each
One of them
generator.
is way out of whack. The third one, way out of whack.
No, it's the second one that you're talking about.
Second one?
It was 14.
Yeah.
But I mean, but they're listing the actual generators and.
They come in and do their inspection and everything,
He
laid
says
out
he's doing
what-
it twice a year.
Run them changing the oil,
They are, I mean-
belts. I mean,
The one at City Hall, literally at Monday morning, 8 o'clock, you hear it pop on. I mean, because of them. I mean, they're coming around.
Okay.
Maybe he hungry.
yeah.
I just can't understand why everybody else was listing them, the generator numbers and units and what they are, and, and had different pricing for the type of generator it was, but this one didn't.
I mean, honestly, you don't get
Two
enough
we
run
used
hours
before.
on these, and
It's a
change the
renewal.
oil annually. Right, I mean, we PM equipment all the time, and we change good oil all the time, but, I
Yep.
mean, you don't get enough run hours on these to even change the oil annually, much less belts and hoses. So it's really a drive-by PM's what I call it. We call it the work drive-bys. You go start it up, it starts up, you look at, check the oil, check the belt, check the hoses.
We should do that monthly.
Yeah,
Weekly, some of them.
quarterly, monthly, yeah, we do.
Mm.
And it's just, I call it a waste of time, right? But it does, but when you want it to turn on,
It's gonna be a
gotta
better
turn on.
it's gotta turn on, 'cause we,
Especially when you're talking about a lift station.
It better turn on.
yeah, when you need them turned on, so, yeah, I looked at them as well, and to me, it's a
There's
good
a
price.
big difference. I was shocked.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, any other items? Items 11 through 27 on consent agenda, motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Hoffman,
approve.
second, Mr. Noblock. Any discussion? Vote to motion.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passed 6-0. I need spread of reports. Item number 28, on the, spread it on the, wherever we spreading them,
On the minutes.
on the minutes.
Motion.
Where we putting them at, right? We just spreading the reports. Put them somewhere.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Reed. We need
Mr. Hoffman, I second.
second. Hoffman first, Reed second. Any further discussions? Vote to motion.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passed 6-0. No attorney's report. Anything from attorney, Mr. Mayor?
No, I think we're good on that. It was filed Friday, the answer to that.
Okay.
She's gonna text everything
10-4. All right.
What was filed Friday?
The answer to the
Okay.
to the Valentine's.
Valentine.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Don't forget National Hot Dog Day.
Oh, yeah.
Hot dog.
Hot dog, diggity dog. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Reed, second, Mr. Hoffman. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.